Handy do battle against Michael Majors. Hand in your left, Majors on your right. Death Shadow Mirror, get used to it. We're going to see a bunch of it here this weekend. Very popular deck here in Indianapolis. Do want to mention and thank everyone who is in the room this weekend, as we have sold out another SCG Tour stop. We sold out Baltimore last weekend. Patrick, I know you were part of that fantastic tournament. This weekend we are here in Indy, where we have 900 players in the room. We are all sold out. And for those of you who will be attending Dallas in just a couple weeks, and we know that Dallas, you players in Texas, you bring the heat.
It's always, if it's not sold out, then it's because we didn't have a cap.
Yeah, yes.
That's been my experience at Dallas.
So if you're planning to attend the Modern Open in Dallas, you better sign up right now and get that out of the way, because Dallas shows out.
They do.
When we go. Majors is already down to, well, 13. Let's make it 13. Take a look at Emma Handy's hand. Thoughtseize, Godless Shrine, Death Shadow, Tarmogoyf, Fatal Push, Inquisition of Kozilek, and Wooded Foothill. So a good hand here from Emma. No question. See if Majors can poke a hole in it.
So Majors' deck is, even though a lot of the similar tools are here, I think Majors is a bit of, he's kind of the beatdown in this kind of matchup. Handy is going a little bit deeper here and has a main deck copy of Ranger of Eos, which is very powerful if the game drags out, but I believe the game is unlikely to drag out. She also has a main deck copy of Shriekmaw, which is a bullet she can find with Traverse and kill Tarmogoyf at least. But this is a hard hand to poke a hole in, as the threats are redundant, the discard is redundant.
Well, there's one less discard spell now. Thoughtseize will be taken, and maybe that's being taken because it takes away Emma Handy's life total.
Well, Majors has nothing in his deck that costs more than 3, so it's just got to be a life total consideration.
Godless Shrine's going to bring Handy down to 18. Now here's Inquisition of Kozilek. Majors will show his hand, Traverse, Fatal Push, make it 2 Traverse, a Fatal Push, and 2 copies of Verdant Catacombs. So 2 pair with a Fatal Push kicker.
So I'm guessing you want to take the Traverse out of this hand, because then Majors' next turn is stranded. He can't cast the Fatal Push on an empty board, and he doesn't have Delirium. Alternatively, you could take the Fatal Push if Handy feels like she can follow up with enough threats to overpower him, but then you're turning on the Traverses, and that's fairly risky.
Yeah, I don't love leaving the Traverses behind. Traverses plural.
Yes.
Because those are more or less demonic tutors for Death Shadow. We'll see what Handy does want to select here, however.
I don't know. There is some pretty big appeal. It's close, right? Because the push matters. All these cards matter. I feel like there's some value in stranding Majors' next turn from an efficiency standpoint.
Sure.
But Handy clearly valuing the Fatal Push very highly.
Delirium online now, too, for Majors.
Right. That's the argument for taking the Traverse, is Majors' next turn might be land go.
Majors' draw step for the turn was a copy of Street Wraith. Major's going to fall down to 12. It might be 10 here in just a moment. We'll find out, as he does sacrifice a Verdant Catacombs. Are we hunting for Blood Crypt? Yes. Yes. Down to 10. Green, red, and black mana available here from Michael. Cycle Street Wraith, going to bring him down to 8.
And you can tell a lot of crafting went into this deck too, because you don't just show up to a tournament with a red beatdown deck and not have Lightning Bolt in it unless you put in a lot of work.
That's true. Lightning Bolt, Gender, and Auto include, but this is more of a weird Jund deck. I mean, this almost seems like the new build of Jund. You know, instead of seeing the Dark Confidant, Liliana of the Veil, you know, grind you out, scavenging you style Jund deck, this might just be the new Jund deck in this format.
It has shades of being able to play a deeper game. It's not all in beatdown. There's no copies of Become Immense. And you have some Planeswalkers and Kolaghan's commands. But obviously this is very different than the typical Jund deck that's, you know, in the market for things like Olivia Voldaren and Huntmaster of the Fells.
Yeah. Majors is down to 8 down, which means he has a 4-4, 13 minus 8, 5-5 Death Shadow on the battlefield.
And you can tell playing these games in the mirror match is quite intricate, because Usually, you know, you're just trying to time your threats and your removal spells the right way and take the right stuff with discard. The problem is that if your opponent ever has an opportunity to attack with a threat, it's probably just lethal. So the management's a lot more complicated than it typically is. There's a lot of matches where it's, you know, you're thinking to yourself, okay, I can take a hit, just out of the function of mana efficiency.
So I think, as Emma just called it, Judge, I think Emma has a proxy in her deck.
Okay.
I think so. We're going to find out here in just a second. That's what I think I saw, because she sacked a fetch land, grabbed her deck, and I believe I saw a backwards magic card.
Okay, so my initial guess was all the green lands in her deck that she could fetch for were in her hand.
Okay, okay.
But we'll see who's right. Yeah.
We'll see who's right.
Could go either way.
It could go either way. That's very true. This should be fun to find out. So we will take a moment here while they just kind of sort this situation out. And, you know, I think what ends up happening, and we'll get the ruling here in just a moment, but there's no reason for you wonderful people to stare at a boring game state. Look, man, if you wanted to beat just Death Shadow, that's it. Which that's a big ask because Modern has 3,000 decks. But if you just wanted to beat Death Shadow, what would you play?
Probably Mardu cards. Just some mixture of Fatal Push, Path to Exile, Terminate, and Lingering Souls.
Okay, okay. Maybe throw some Planeswalkers in the mix there somewhere?
Yeah, that would be, I'm not saying that deck would necessarily be good, but
okay.
Intuitively, that would be my starting point.
Okay, just a lot of spot removal. You got Fatal Push and Path will take care of Death Shadow and Tarmogoyf every time.
Yep.
And then you need a way to be able to kind of handle the Planeswalker portion of the deck. Yeah, maybe the Ranger of Eos, like engine, for lack of a better term, but you think that maybe Mardu would be able to do that?
Maybe. I mean, I think that the 3-color good stuff decks seem to me like they have the right tools, because being able to play at instant speed, having removal spells, and having chump blockers, having sweepers, you know, Damnation, Supreme Verdict, whatever it may happen to be, that to me feels like the right recipe. And I think that there's a variety of 3-color decks that have the tools to do that, be it Grixis, be it Abzan, be it Jeskai, and maybe other builds that people don't really play.
Okay. It's an interesting ask because, I mean, we're going to work ourselves into this part of the tournament here, I think. You know, now, okay, I already knew that Jerry and Sam were playing the deck. Justin Cohen, Sam's roommate, fantastic Magic player, is here. I know he's playing the deck.
Yep.
I would be very shocked if he's not. He has played Lantern before, just like Sam, but I'm almost positive Justin is playing Death Shadow. And now you've got Emma playing the deck, and you've got Michael Majors playing the deck. And that's 5 big-name players in the room that are playing it, and I imagine there are more people who are playing it. Yeah, we talked to Kyle Bogmeans this morning. I was talking with him during the week because he was thinking about playing Revolt Zoo, and then this morning he wasn't able to get in the tournament because it sold out, but he was like, yeah, I was just going to play Death Shadow. Right. You know, Andrew Ellenbogen, a friend of Kyle's from the Ann Arbor area, who's a very skilled player with multiple Grand Prix top 8s, he is playing Death Shadow. A lot of people are playing this deck this weekend. Now, the tough part is if you came to this tournament saying, you know what, I'm just going to try to beat Death Shadow, you risk losing to a lot of other decks because Modern has so many different decks.
Yes, you know, many of the decks that I'm listing as being hypothetically very good against Death Shadow, for example, have no game against Tron.
Sure.
So it's really hard to beat everything, and that's sort of the way that Modern works. It's a very large card pool. The very proactive linear decks are powerful. All of them require different tools, and so you get to make a list of 10 decks, and you get to say, I get to be good against 7 of these or 6 of these, but you don't get all 10. And,
that's true.
And if you got all 10, then we would be talking about bannings, because that would be the only thing to be doing. So you can be very heavily metagamed towards beating this deck. Fortunately, a lot of the cards that you would want are good on their own, like Path to Exile, Fatal Push, Lingering Souls. They're not just good in this matchup. But there is a lot of risk with playing cumbersome 3-color control decks because they don't line up very well against some of the other proactive decks in the format.
Okay. Well, we do have our update and our ruling, so we're going to head on down the feature match area. Emma has received a game loss for having a proxy. That's a no-no once the tournament does start. Both players with a bit of a smile. I would be laughing too. Yep. It is rather humorous.
Majors will take it however we can get it.
Of course. Of course. I believe it was a copy of Tarfire, I think. Yeah. A copy of Tarfire. One of. Fun of.
The one of Tarfire?
One of, fun of. Look, that's a hard one to find. Pretty important to the deck, too. A little tribal instant there. So that problem is solved. And now we can take a look at the sideboards here for these two players. We will start with Emma Handy. She'll be on the play with 3 full Ender Mage, 3 Lingering Souls, 2 Abrupt Decay, 2 Surgicals, bunch of 1-ups here in Collective Brutality. Bitter Blossom, that's nice. Nihil Spellbomb, a Aethersworn Canonist, and a Kataki War's Wage.
I like the mixture of decays and lingering souls here. The other one of is Collective Brutality efficient enough for this matchup? My instinct is no, because it's just not good enough against the creatures. But I suppose there's an argument for just another discard spell as well. My instinct, though, is just Lingering Souls and Abrupt Decay.
Other side of things here for Michael Majors. He's also got 3 Fulminator Majors, 3 Surgical Extraction, 2 Ancient Grudge, 2 Collective Brutality, a Liliana Last of Kozilek's Return, Maelstrom Pulse, Big Game Hunter, Abrupt Decay. Very close to what Jerry T's doing.
Yeah, I like the one copy of Abrupt Decay. The Big Game Hunter seems great in this matchup. Maybe the matchup's a little bit too fast for things like Maelstrom Pulse and Liliana Last of, especially if you're on the draw. But the Abrupt Decay and the Big Game Hunter seem great.
Those are the options there for both players. So as they get ready here for game number 2, it's time for our favorite promotion, SCG Game Night. Okay, here we go. Patrick doesn't know. He hasn't been. When's the last time you were in the booth?
I have seen the Corgi Firewalker.
Yes, of course. Corgi Firewalker, adorable. Lots of fun is the Corgi Firewalker. That's available in February. Not a lot of time left to get that one, but as we make our way into March, I'll let you take over.
In March, we have this one I also have seen. I have seen the Pig Through Time.
Okay.
And we have the April kit lined up.
We do.
It is Fleece Keeper. It's great. An homage to Peacekeeper. Anyway, go to starcgames.com/game night for more information and find the game night closest to you. Source if you want to get signed up for game night. Contact your Star City Games in-store play representative.
We learn a little bit more about Michael Majors as he is currently up a game here. Is the gentleman from the Georgia area. Michael, number 20 right now on the SCG Tour leaderboard. 25 years old from Evans, Georgia, with 6 open top 8s, 1 open win, an invitational top 8 to his name as well. He aspires to own an Applebee's franchise. You think that's a joke? It's not. He's an amateur kayak enthusiast, and he is quite the reader. And he loves to watch himself some speed runs on Twitch, as I learned when I stayed with him in Roanoke before I moved back to Seattle. We watched a very compelling GoldenEye speed run where apparently there's a glitch in the game where one player, you can play in just campaign mode, one player on one controller can do the shooting, and the other player can do the scrolling with the C buttons.
Okay.
So these guys were speedrunning it together, and one is just only doing like the shooting with the Z button and the joystick, and the other one is doing only strafing with the C buttons. It's incredible.
That's sweet.
It's unbelievable. It's the best speedrun I've ever watched in my entire life. I cannot recommend it highly enough. I can't think of the name of the guy from Canada who does the speed. Like, it's a 2-person thing. But one of the guys, very passionate, should be a leader of men and women. Should be, for sure. He's unbelievable. He keeps his teammate pumped up, the crowd pumped up. Has good pace a lot. He
sounds cool. I would still never watch that. But
you would. Did you play GoldenEye when you were a kid?
Of course.
Okay, so I thought I wouldn't watch it either. Majors turned it on. I immediately got entranced, and I was fully in.
Yeah.
You would be in. Trust me. You would be in. Plus, it's not that long. It's like 30 minutes. It's not that long. But the thing about speedruns that is kind of depressing, because you have, when we were younger, GoldenEye was just the stone nuts. It was the best game.
It was.
And you have these visions of how you used to play it, and then when you watch how they speedrun it, it just is like ruins the game.
Right.
Because, first of all, they're not even looking at, they're not killing anyone really. They're just running by everyone for the most part. They're only killing like the bosses they need to kill and stuff like that. And they're mostly aimed at the ground. So they're not looking at the scenery, which is putrid now because it's 2017 and not 1997 anymore.
Yeah, our standards have changed.
Yeah.
Because I remember when that game first came out, I was like, this is the dopest looking game
It's
of all time.
groundbreaking. It's groundbreaking.
It's like the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park. Like when I was a kid, that blew my mind. I couldn't believe how it was like, those are dinosaurs. And now I watch Jurassic Park and it's like, those are definitely not dinosaurs.
Yeah, those are people in there. those are people in that thing.
Those are people.
It's like watching the Power Rangers back in the day. Mishra's Bobble is where things are going to start here.
This is probably where our age gap shows up.
Did you not Power Rangers?
I was too old for it. It was not a cool thing to be doing by the time,
All right.
Because you were probably what, 9 or 10 when the Power Rangers were really popular?
I think maybe a little younger.
Maybe
but yeah, right around that age.
I was, 13, 14. So
yeah, you can't Power Ranger.
You get beat up watching that, and it would be correct for them to beat you up. Yeah.
There's a Power Rangers movie coming out soon.
Did not know.
It looks great.
Somehow that did not get onto my radar.
Yeah. It looks great. Mishra's Bobble here from Majors. Top card, gets to get a little look at it. Now I'll sacrifice the Wooded Foothills. And now Thoughtseize. So 17, 15. Hand here for Emma Handy. No proxies. That's good. Lingering Souls, Death Shadow, Kolaghan's Command, along with a Verdant Catacombs, a Bloodstained Mire, and a Blood Crypt.
So you can see the plan here for Handy. Trying to manage the game with Lingering Souls. A lot of chump blocking. Threats in the air that mages can't block. Good against removal spells. Susceptible to Liliana the Last Hope. But a powerful option for the matchup.
We'll see what Majors does want to select here in just a moment. Interesting question here on Twitter. Patrick, what's your opinion on how Fatal Push has changed Modern and Eternal formats in general? You okay with that card?
I am. I mean, it's they're spending a lot of power points there, but Modern, I think, needs more one-mana interaction. And it's a relatively healthy card for Standard because Revolt's not free to trigger like it is in Modern because of fetch lands. And also, people play with 5-mana creatures.
Yeah.
So there's sometimes where it's just the wrong answer to have. And then in the faster formats, well, there's a lot of crazy things going on. And a couple tools that are powerful that can help slow the game down. I think it's good for the format.
Majors will draw a card on Handy's turn because of the Mirror's Bauble trigger. Handy will draw a card for her turn. She lost her Kolaghan's Command, but now we had her way for a second turn.
I have articulated concerns in the past, about Modern just becoming a format of Snapcasters and Cryptic Commands, and that's likely to happen if you ban all the proactive cards. We are very far away from that reality right now.
Yes.
So a little love in that direction, I think, is a fine way to spend some power points.
Tarmogoyf is here. It's a 4/5. There's an artifact, a land, an instant, and a sorcery in the graveyard, with probably more types on the way. One could argue this is the best Tarmogoyf deck in the format because it does get so large because there's so many card types. Over to Majors for his second turn. You see both players at 15 already. Majors wants to push that Goyf around. So Goyf down, going to sacrifice a Bloodstained Mire and now play a Death Shadow.
I think Majors with the sideboarded Big Game Hunter in hand.
Oh yeah.
I think can't tell. It was not the one from whatever set it was in originally. Plane Shift?
Time Spiral. So second set in Time Spiral is Plane Shift, right?
Yeah,
I
think it's Plane Shift.
Yeah, it's from Plane Shift. Second set, because you could search. It's a Rebel. You can search for it with the Rebel stuff.
Oh god, and it has Madness?
Oh yeah.
What a sloppy block.
Oh yeah. Here's Lingering Souls. Can't Big Game Hunter those. 2 Spirit Tokens on the way here for Emma Handy. Gonna search for Godless Shrine there with the Bloodstained Mire.
Forgot I was a Rebel with Madness.
Oh yeah. That was during my
Yeah.
my prime, quote unquote.
This design only has 4 weird and non-related things going on. Can we add a 5th?
We can try.
Yeah. Was Mercenaries a supported tribe in that, or was it
not.
just
it
Rebels?
was just Rebels, and the Rebels were black this go around.
Mercenaries so unpopular they couldn't even find their way into Time Spiral block. That is quite the commentary.
I loved Mercenaries when I was a kid. They were so bad.
So Majors now has a copy of Maelstrom Pulse in hand, and you can tell the thought here is, well, am I supposed to do this now and get in a good shot, or can I try to navigate the game in such a way that Handy flashes back the Lingering Souls, maybe anticipating being able to block, and I get it all in one shot?
I feel like you can do a little bit better with the Maelstrom Pulse.
I think so too.
But a lot of decisions here because Majors also has a copy of Tarmogoyf in hand. I think another copy of Death Shadow too. And if Michael has never played this deck before and simply copy-pasted a list from Jerry Thompson, yeah, he's got to do this little dance of what am I trying to accomplish? How am I going to go about accomplishing it? Because this is no easy deck to play.
Yeah, this is all these scenarios are still very heavy on math.
Going to play Wooded Foothills and come across with the Death Shadow. Quick little chump block, I believe. And yeah, Majors will have to sacrifice the fetch land because Death Shadow right now is a 1/1.
Yep, this forces the action. This chump block feels a little preemptive to me, given the life total here, but it does play very nicely for Handy, given the presence of Maelstrom Pulse. Any value you can squeeze out of these Lingering Souls tokens, very valuable.
Major's going to fall down to 11, which means Death Shadow is a 2/2. And now here's Tarmogoyf. 5/6 this go around. Now we head back over to Emma Handy. She will draw. She has found Abrupt Decay. Pretty good.
I mean, on the table, that leads itself to a pretty natural Flash Souls, Abrupt Decay turn if she wants it. All those foil fetches, but couldn't find a Tarfire.
Here's the copy of Lingering Souls. It's the $2.
Might want to diversify those assets a little bit.
It's the $2 commons that always get you.
Yeah.
And now here's a copy of Death Shadow.
All right. Handy tapped out, so she might be dead here.
Yeah, it just could be over right now.
No Maelstrom Pulse. Follow that up with a Fatal Push or some other 1-mana removal spell.
Majors with a couple fetch lands in hand here. What's so interesting about this deck, too, is that Big Game Hunter also in hand. Thump!
Yes.
We got to take a look at the BGH.
Creature : Rebel.
We don't see this one a ton, but it's actually pretty darn good right now as it took care of 4/4 Death Shadow. Now Tarmogoyf from Death Shadow are going to come in. Human Rebel Assassin. Does a lot. Does a lot, actually.
Look at all that action.
When it comes into play, destroy target creature with power 4 or greater cannot be regenerated. Madness for a single black. 3-mana 1/1. There you go.
I don't even know what the... So what's this an homage to? What's that white creature that taps to kill a 4 or greater?
Intrepid Hero.
Intrepid Hero.
Yeah.
But it's not
really an homage to that, though.
Right, because it's also has madness and is a rebel.
Yeah, it's just its own card.
Right.
It's just its own card. Look at that slimy creature.
Yep.
I lost a lot of games to Intrepid Hero when I played Blue-Green Madness.
Yep.
Just gunning down my Roar of the Worm tokens. Looks like Major's going to sacrifice a fetch land here. Going to get a Stomping Ground.
What do you think the odds are that we've ever had, that the pilots have had a Collective Brutality discard my Big Game Hunter madness?
Whew, whew. I can only hope that we get to see that happen this weekend for the full blowout. Handy will draw. It's a fetch land, I believe. Remember, right now, 2 Lingering Souls in the graveyard, Abrupt Decay in hand, and Major still has not cast that Maelstrom Pulse, setting it up for a way to clean out all the blockers.
Yeah. I mean, and now this is the decision point here is, does Handy just attack, flashback the 2 copies of Lingering Souls, hope to hold off and kill, or leave up the Abrupt Decay out of respect for an effect that gives trample, or some Maelstrom Pulse or some way to clear out all the tokens?
Attack for 2 in the air is going to bring Majors down to 5, which means Death Shadow will grow a little bit. Lingering Souls will bring along 2 more Spirits, but this Maelstrom Pulse is going to be a real backbreaker here. No doubt about it. Even with the Abrupt Decay at the ready, which is a nice card to have.
It's still lethal here, if even through 1 removal spell.
We've been informed the second set in Time Spiral. Planar Chaos.
Planar Chaos, excuse me.
Yes.
Judge Patrick Nelson to the stage.
Plane Shift is the second set. It's before Apocalypse.
Yeah, that's right.
What was the first set in Epilogue?
Invasion.
Invasion? Yeah, IPA, you're right. Thank you. Is that a discard spell? Timely. Now we know the coast is clear. Yep. Abrupt Decay is going to kill Death Shadow. Majors does not mind that because Pulse is going to take care of these Spirits, and that will take care of Emma Handy. Michael Majors is going to win this match here over Emma Handy. 2-0. The Death Shadow Mirror goes to the player on the right, and for Majors, number 20 on our SCG Tour leaderboard. Good start for him coming off that bye. He's 2-0.
Deck looks good.
Oh, does it?
Not a ton of commentary or context to provide on top of that one because it was a mirror-ish sort of matchup.